Hi, my name is Big Bird. I'm the head mod over here. Uh, Also involved with making events, reaching out to people, talking to the community. Yeah.
And I am Chris Craig, known as Iron Taxi. Come from mostly modding background, most recognizably Squad, but I've worked in indie and like game development for like 20 some odd years, including modding. So my job here is one of the very few developers, and I work primarily on environment design and marketing and kind of game design.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you've got some hours behind you, which is needed, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're pretty efficient at not wasting our time these days, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
We're not stumbling along, that's for sure. We don't. Nobody has time.
No, it seems like it's going great. I mean, as you guys can tell, I'm super infatuated with it because I probably spend more time in your guys' Discord than I do in my
We do.
work. I'll be sitting at my desk, working throughout the day, and I have Discord opened up on my second monitor,
Yeah.
and I'm like just waiting. I was like, how can I just stay involved? Because I want to be
What's your
involved.
day job?
So I am an automation programmer. I work in the oil and gas industry,
Oh, cool. Wait,
programming
what's your name?
SCADA.
One more time.
Say that again.
What did you say there? Sorry, I heard automation programmer, and then I lost you.
Oh yeah, so automation programming in the oil and gas industry.
Oh, I see. I see.
So I deal with RTUs and SCADA packs and things like that on installed in facilities like compressor stations and
Yep.
refineries,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Is that primarily in the United States?
It is, yeah, just private, just locally here in Utah, the state of Utah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I have a
So,
friend who does automation in the oil fields in Alberta, but it's for a styrofoam manufacturing plant.
oh,
So
gotcha.
I guess they use like they were saying they use propane off of part of the process, like it's generated as part of the process, and they built this styrofoam. It makes the little beads, little styrofoam beads.
Uh huh.
That's what they make. They make bazillions of styrofoam little beads every day and send them out by train loads to the U.S. primarily. So they come out of Canada, they go straight down to the U.S. to make styrofoam.
It's
And
uh,
they buy
it's
them.
it's a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah, he said the amount of different machines that he gets to work with in that plant alone is insane.
yeah, it's crazy
He
that
spent, he,
the
he
control
spent
you
three
have.
years just setting up that system, like with 40 guys, just
Yeah,
getting everything running in that plant.
I
Three or
could
four years.
I can tell you on a day-to-day basis with me is copy and paste is my best friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I use it all the time with like ladder logic and things like that.
That's cool.
But so for I'm making this podcast for not only people that are aware of Exfil, but I do know that there's gonna be a few people that are in my Discord that aren't familiar with it, or a few people that like family and stuff that aren't.
Lightly familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you just want to tell us kind of what is Exfil, um,
Yeah.
and kind of go over that.
Yeah, I'll do the brief version, but Exfil at its core is a very asymmetrical first person shooter, heavily teamwork focused, heavily like voice and communication focused, and we, intentionally. It's meant to have a really easy accessibility. Like we're really designing it for the 30 and 40 and 50 somethings that have kids and a job and all that stuff. And we just don't, having been somebody who worked in design squad for years, um, I was very aware of where its limitations were in terms of accommodating certain types of customers, and was me basically. That's what I realized at some point. I was like, oh, I don't even want to play squad anymore because it's way too much commitment for me. Um, so this kind of came out of that, and working with Roberto, he had already built this framework for about 3 years. So Exfil kind of evolved out of those desires that we shared when we and Roberto talked about it. We kind of shared these desires to have something that was quite creative and like you can customize it, you can make your own scenarios, things of that nature, but was still like super accessible. You could
Right.
jump in it, you could play it a lot like Delta Force back in the old days and things like that. It had a lot of modularity and a lot of like configurability, but you could just jump in and play it as well.
Yeah.
Which Arma, both of us being Arma fans, we also understand where it has limitations.
Yeah.
It just takes a long time to get to an engagement and kind of have everything build up in Arma. So we wanted to avoid that as well. So this is how Exfil evolved.
Gotcha. And from my understanding, and hope I get this right, and I'm sure I will, but Exfil is currently being developed in the Unreal Engine 5, correct?
Correct. Yep, yep.
So you said he's been working on it for 3 years. He had like the framework going for 3 years. I don't know the exact time frame for Unreal Engine 5 and the release, the different builds of Unreal Engine 5. Did he start an Unreal Engine 5 with the framework, or did he port over?
No, I mean, you just connected the dots. So he started in Unreal Engine 4, Unreal Engine 4 quite a number of years ago, and it would have just transitioned a year and a half ago, something like that.
Gotcha.
Unreal Engine 5, yeah. So there's a lot of nice advantages of going to Unreal Engine 5, especially since the framework was already mature, but he had complete control because he wrote it all himself.
Yeah.
So it really was like perfect timing.
Yeah.
Unreal Engine. So yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about Exfil and that play test that I was able to do, the public play test that you guys had, like Unreal Engine 5 in the gameplay in Exfil that I kind of took away from it, it felt like a whole new experience for me. And I'm super excited for like Unreal Engine 5. And as more developers pick the engine up and we start seeing more games, including the progress of Exfil, like it's exciting to me because I felt like on the battlefield, it felt different to me. It felt fast paced, but slow. And it just felt like I was encapsulated with the environment. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, totally. Immersiveness is like a huge element. So like the world should be dynamic. It shouldn't be a static, like with the weather and all that kind of stuff. But I think you hit the other nail on the head is that me and Roberto were both kind of itching for this, again, something accessible. And I don't want to, I keep avoiding the word casual, but it's kind of what I mean, like casual in a good way, not in a bad way. I think casual has kind of been aborted as a word in video gaming, meaning like, mobile. But we both wanted that because we weren't enjoying games anymore. We were enjoying like RTSs and all those other kind of games, but we weren't enjoying the first person shooters the way we used to.
Yeah, my group is experiencing that same thing where we jump on and then we're kind of just sitting there and like we end up just browsing YouTube.
And you're like,
we're like, what are we gonna play? And then like when I seen Exfil, I was outside playing with my son. We were playing and doing some stuff, and I sat down to take a break and I looked at my phone and I seen a TikTok about Exfil. And I mean, I jumped out of my shoes. I ran inside. My buddies are still in Discord. And I was like, hey, you guys heard of Exfil? And they're like, no, what is that? And I was like, let's load it up and try it out. And unfortunately, it was, late already. So I didn't get much play time, I think 8 or 9 hours. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. The open weekend. So we jumped in and yeah, we were hooked. I think, so I have a friend of mine. He's a helicopter pilot and he's a huge squad fan. He jumps in those helicopters. And he started playing it and like he had the cheesiest grin and he fell in love with it instantly. And then a couple other friends fell in love with it. And then we didn't realize it was so short. So we are excited for Steam Fest, the FPS Fest that's coming up. We're going to be there.
That's funny. You just gave me a little bit of shiver because I think if you guys are getting excited for it, you don't even know, like, from my point of view, in terms of a product, I know what we're going to build on top of this now. Like, I have a very good idea of where we're going. And if you enjoyed that, man, I'm excited.
I'm ready. I'm 100% ready.
It's exciting me. I'm ready too. Yeah.
So you kind of already touched a little bit on your previous work. You worked on Squad in the early days. I believe Project Reality as well, correct?
Yep, correct. Yeah.
So what was your inspirations? What led you down this road to get into modding, Arma, Project Reality, Squad, and now Exfil?
So I think the biggest thing for me is I've been a modder forever. Like, I started modding. Well, the original, I've said this before to people, but the original Doom editor was the first thing I ever modded because they had a level editor in the original Doom game. Like, I'm talking 30 some odd years ago. So I built my first level in there, and just having that control to build things was just wild, right? Like, highly addictive. So I was seeking those experiences out more than the gaming in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So when different games would come out, if they had an editor, I would fire it up right away. So I kind of became, I guess I came into modding right when it existed, essentially. And then did 25 years almost through Project Reality. I was the head of the environment and level design for a couple of years. Came in through level design, was the head of level design. But the Delta Force 2 was a massive influence before that. I used to make maps all week, and then I would spin up my own servers Friday night. And this is one of the Exfil, the inspirations for the Exfil model is that idea that people can kind of host their own worlds, host their own environments and their own scenarios, their own campaigns, and have anonymous people come in and play it. And you can be the dungeon master. That is like,
Yeah.
that's like huge gamer erection. So I think these are a lot of like, it's not a long list, but it's a short list of things I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And Squad didn't do those things. It was a different game, different objectives. So I think again, dovetailing with Roberto and his objectives, we were just like, okay, let's go do this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of that, I can kind of relate to that because I don't know if it's like a curiosity side of me, which even led me to automation. But ever since I was young, I was always like, when I would see something, it wasn't the product at face value. I typically wanted to look behind the curtains.
Yeah,
I wanted to tear it apart. I wanted to see. Yeah. I do it with multiple games that I play with. Stardew Valley, Minecraft, DayZ is a huge one for me. I've created mods for Stardew Valley and Minecraft, and then we've held a DayZ community for the past 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. These are fully committed.
Oh yeah, we're committed to DayZ. It's a big thing, and hopefully we're going to transition over to Exfil. I know that there's been some small blips. I know it's not huge on the radar right now because you guys are in early development. But something that we're excited for is the ability to maybe transition to Exfil. As much as I like DayZ, I would be 100% willing to hand those reins off to somebody else and kind of divert my focus on Exfil.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I was gonna say, Bird, how about you? How did you what's your video game kind of path?
Oh, how I got here, I guess.
Yeah. Because you ended up coming to us. To be fair, he presented himself to us early on when I started just kind of putting feelers out in the community, and he just kind of talked through with me, and then he was just on board right away.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this thing. I'm here fully, and I was like, I didn't have to ask. So,
yeah, it was
a path behind that, right?
No, absolutely. I just showed up one night to play some video games with my friends. I got invited out to test it, and they're like, "Oh, it's pre-alpha." They kept telling me it's alpha the whole time, and I was like, "All right, well, let's go in and play." And after the first match, I was like, "This is a real game. Like, you can play this." Like,
yes,
and then, Chris asked me if I could round up some people to play next weekend, and I think we met on a Friday night. I wasn't expecting too many people to show up, being Friday evening. Everybody's busy. I had 12 or 15 guys in there, ready to go after showing them a couple clips. And then we went in there.
Oh, that's called grooming, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So he saw that we had all these people in there. He's like, "I'm going to give you guys all keys. Let's all go play." And then pretty much since then, we've been playing 2-3 times a week almost since then. And it's kind of been cool to watch the game grow to where we were and where we're going. And it's been really cool to be there for every step of the way in the process and the countless people you meet and everything. So.
Yeah, we had some really neat conversations early on too, because I think from your perspective, Big Bird, you weren't you didn't know me. You knew my background, but you didn't know me. But we had some discussions early on where I was really expressing to you how, building community is key. Being really normal, down to earth. I remember you said something specifically well, I don't know how much I can help you in modding. I'm not really a show off or a big star, a big personality. And I'm like, that's exactly what we need. We don't need showy, flashy people. That's not what builds a community. That builds a following of that person, right?
Right,
absolutely.
It's a personality. But what you want for community is you just want it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I'm going to say a family.
Yeah,
you want that kind of feel, and you got to have buddies. It's even think of it as World War I. We're all in the trenches together. If you can trust that person next to you, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I'm really big on investing time in the people, and then everybody's energy is been rocket fuel so far from the community.
And in the right place. Everybody's head's in the right place. There's no personalities, there's no egos. That is stuff that just poisons,
Absolutely.
It becomes about that personality.
Yeah. Yeah, your guys' structure, and it seems like you guys have definitely done a few of these because you're almost transitioning for me, because the next thing I was going to talk about was community. for Big Bird.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys are really good. Or you could see my screen here. But
Do we get more money for that? Or
yeah,
200% raise.
the community, it's unlike anything that I've ever witnessed. I dabble in development and things like that, just video games in a whole. And I've been a part of a lot of communities, including early communities like your guys' Exfil community that you have. But I haven't ever experienced anything quite like your guys' community. It doesn't seem like there's a chip on the shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it seems like you guys are humans. You know what I mean? Like I know that what you guys are able to achieve in short amount of times, you may not. Maybe you got the Neuralink, but you guys act like humans. You treat other people like humans, and it was kind of crazy to see. I hope that never goes away. But like with Big Bird, he was so open. You know, he said, "Hey, if you are a content creator, we don't care how big you are." My podcast is brand new. I just barely started doing this kind of thing. 7 subscribers, I think, hopefully more in the future. But he didn't care. He's like, yeah, we don't care. Like we'll come on and talk to you, and whatever comes of it, comes of it. And you just don't see that nowadays. So with community, you kind of already answered it. You guys are looking to do it in a different direction. And I think it's a good direction, in my opinion. You guys have always made me feel welcome the past week that I've been in there. No matter how much I comment in your guys' Discord. It's felt nice.
Poster award goes to right.
But that's kind of one of the main things too, right? We answer everybody. There's not somebody that just gets pushed to the side. Like we reach out and talk to everybody that comes in.
Better or worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we think everybody's worthy of, engagement at the very least.
Yeah.
There are no dumb ideas, It's we had this really jokey one inside Squad over the years and over Project Reality is somebody always suggests putting an aircraft carrier in the desert.
Yes.
Map. And it hasn't come up yet, but it will. Somebody's gonna be like, "I've got a great idea. Why don't you put an aircraft carrier in the middle of the desert?" And I'm gonna engage them and say, "Wow, you just hit the jackpot because you came up with the idea that everybody comes up with, but in tongue in cheek, obviously."
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know what? If like being really critical or maybe being very transparent, I think if I'm speaking correctly, sorry, I'm processing this in my head because I'm trying to dig as deep as I can for you.
Okay.
The root of it is we're not putting ourselves in a position where we need to answer to shareholders. So therefore, any pressure that goes on through this process is our own. We've created that pressure. We're in control of that pressure. Me and Roberto have said this many times. If we want to walk away from this tomorrow, we have 0 obligations.
Right.
Technically.
Okay.
So the point of that is we can now decide to approach things. It gives us an advantage. We can now decide to approach things in ways that normal studios with investors and whoever it may, essentially what are called stakeholders who are money stakeholders.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never be able to. And so we really want to take advantage of that. One of the things is engagement.
Right.
We have to filter our engagement. We have nobody to answer to except for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we have this advantage of being able to just be honest and just have straight conversations, where having been in big studios, that's, there's a PR, there's a person filtering developer talk. There's a person involved in all the marketing and media and stuff like that. And it's well regulated, I guess is the best word for it. You often don't hear the truth. That's just a reality of I guess the film industry is the same thing in other industries.
Right.
But the real magic of being indie, intentionally indie, especially in our case, is we don't have any of those constraints. We can just be who we are, hang out with you guys, and build a game.
Yeah.
It is our again, it's very intentional in that sense that we know it's an advantage. So why would we not be open and inclusive and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. What did they call that when you're in elementary school? The telephone game where you stand in line and one person whispers it to the next. Right. And that's how higher or AAA style studios and things have to do their marketing. And
or you get people who are so detached that they say things like, what was that guy last year? The EA guy who got fired, the head of game design. What did he say? He's like, oh, when everybody was complaining about having the female in the World War II game, remember?
Oh,
She had the bionic arm.
yeah.
And he's like, you guys just don't get it. You're just not inclusive enough, or something like that. And everybody's like, whoa, dude,
Take a step back.
you're not like, way to throw a landmine in front of yourself, but you're obviously very detached from reality, right? And he was so behind the filter that he didn't even know he was so detached from reality. He was just living in a different world, man, like a completely different world. So
Yeah.
we're not going to be without fault. That's not the point. The point is more that we're trying to live on the same street, so to speak, as the people we're playing with. And I'm the same. I play constantly. I'm not one of those developers who sits outside the game and just takes feedback and makes changes. I make sure that I'm getting in the game constantly.
Yeah. You just need to let me in on that.
Yeah, also because I want to play it.
Yeah, me too. So
anything to add to that, Bert? Sorry, I talked my head off. So
I just crossed over 100 hours in the game this last week on my last test. So,
congratulations.
yay.
Make me check.
But no, I'm still playing it. I'm still highly addicted to it. It's kind of been interesting to kind of see the meta kind of change here and there when we make changes, and teams are starting to get better. And it's kind of exciting to watch the development of each player and each team, for that matter, because you are playing on a team with other people. Seeing tactics coming out, and that sort of stuff when I'm sitting in, admin cam, it's just really cool to watch everybody's skill level gradually get better. And that's the thing. There is no progression system right now, but the play does get better every single game. Guys are learning. Guys are wanting to get better.
To get better in the absence of buffs.
Yeah.
You can't rely on a buff to get better. You actually have to play better.
Yeah, you got to put hours in.
Yeah, I'm at 93.9 hours, but
93.9
at Exfil. So you beat me, which is expected. You should be.
A little bit, yeah.
It adds up quick when you're enjoying it. Yeah, I have 2 games. I have Rocket League that I'm sitting at like 9,000 hours in, and then DayZ I have like 2,800. And I have a feeling that Exfil is probably going to climb up there.
Here's hoping.
I'm hoping. I before I jumped in with the podcast with you guys, I was testing my audio, so I decided to make just a fake mock video of me reviewing the game. And one of the things that I had said was that it's fair to compare FPS shooters and games in general to each other. But I made a key point saying like it doesn't really run like any other game that I've played. Like it doesn't feel like any other game I played. Like at times it's fast paced, at times it's slow paced, and you can compare that, right, to like Squad or whatnot. But it felt different to me. It had the adrenaline of like a search and destroy type game, like a close quarters game, but it had the open feeling of a military sim like Squad or Hell Let Loose or something. So it kind of jumbled those both together, and that's them I like.
Obviously, the one life keeps the tension flowing.
Yeah, no double tries.
Right, exactly. So I think that's something, and it's funny. Roberto was by far the loudest voice, because we were kind of thinking through like how do game modes evolve as we move forward. Like we want to have a bunch of different game modes, and we were like, okay, well, what does a respawn look like in this game? And Roberto's like, it doesn't. We never have respawns. And I was like, okay, but like, is there a paradigm where we can say, you don't respawn, but you reinforce, let's say, and that's like a paradigm that's acceptable because it's realistic. You do have reinforcements. And he's like, no, we just make no game modes with respawns.
So
I was like, okay.
So get better is what you guys. That's what we're reinforcing this. Get better.
Well, you know what? Constraints are healthy things to design inside of, because the world is not your oyster. Your world is the shell.
Yeah.
And in this case, the shell is no respawns. And I was like, yeah, I really had to introspect a little bit and be like, that's a really good decision, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
That tension will never go away. Ever.
And you get it twice, too. You get it as you're going up to the heli to get the intel, and then while you're waiting for the heli to come in. So you get highs and lows like the whole game. The tempo for it, great.
Game modes will only either amplify that or modify it in some way, because you'll still only have one life.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely had those heart pounding moments of calling in the extract and just waiting because you know they're coming. Because the game's not over yet, because if it was, you would have won by elimination. So when you call in that extract helicopter, you know something's, for the most part, unless they're brand new and they've never played, which is fine, and they're clear across the map and they don't really know how to get there. But you know somebody's coming. It could be two teams of 5 people each. You don't know what's coming. So you get ready with the smokes. You'll tell your squad to find positions. Let's get ready to go. And Big Bird, with you having 100 hours in the game, well, does that start to drop, or do you still get that? Do you still have
No,
that?
I still get it. I call it the butt pucker moment. That's
your
when
pants.
you're kind of, real tense running in there. It still happens.
Gotcha. So next thing I want to go towards is the future plans. I know this can be kind of shoddy or whatnot, but future things that you want to add. By the way, I love what I'm seeing on that new map. I've looked at those images probably 20 times, and I'm excited about the buildings and the elevated combat scenarios that you can get into. So the futures, is there anything that you can tell us that's maybe coming soon, or directions that you guys plan on going before other directions?
Well, that's a great example. So we were looking at early access because ultimately our goal right now is like we're not in a rush. Nobody's pushing us out the door, shareholder wise, etc. Finance wise either. Like we've got time and money and all that stuff. But we can see now that if the response we're getting, especially through the FPS Fest, holds and continues, we'll be able to get this out to early access fairly soon and just get it rolling essentially from that point of view, and then start making all these improvements and updates. So looking at that as kind of a barometer, we're looking at like on the long side, probably 6 months for early access. On the short side, probably 3. We've got a short list of things that we know have to be in there, even looking at from where we started here. So it's things like we just put a whole bunch of improvements into the server browser, so you can name your server, you can lock your server, all that stuff is coming out now. We just put a chat box in, so you can just do text chat in the lobby now if you want, just to give all these accessibility options. Again, because if we're saying a game is this accessible and configurable, it better be accessible and configurable.
Right. Yeah.
You better deliver on your promise, right? And then on the game side, that urban map was a response to the testing. So we kind of had a couple different paths we could have gone down, and I'm not going to tell you what the other ones were, but a response to the testing was, okay, it's time for me to engage the urban map, because it's obvious that that's what people want to experience right now. Having had their first blush glance at the first 3 maps, they're like, man, imagine if this was urban. And I was like, well, that's what we're doing then. So that's part of paying careful attention and being in the game and talking to people live.
Right.
They're like, man, if I was like imagine this game if somebody was like in the 3rd story and you didn't know where they were, and I was like, awesome.
Keynote. So Big Bird, with you being involved directly with Roberto and Iron Taxi, do you hear some of the conversations that they talk about where they plan on adding this or that, and does it get you kind of excited to continue being a part of it?
Absolutely. They always include me in the conversations, which is pretty thoughtful on their part. And so we talk about the game all the time, just in casual conversations. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then I just kind of take what I hear from, the community itself, what I'm kind of hearing, and then bring that back to them. So they're getting essentially a double dose of everything that's going on, and everybody's involved.
Right.
So I'll just say I'm pretty excited. I wouldn't be here still if
if there wasn't some future.
Yeah. And coming from, my background is squad, started a bunch of communities, competitive teams, that sort of thing. I think when it really clicked for me was very early on, when I found out that you don't need a dedicated server to play this game, which also opens the door for other communities. Anybody.
Right.
They could just set up their own Discord and host their own servers, and kind of do their own thing. And I have never seen that really before in a game. But that's when I really clicked for me. I was like, oh, okay.
That used to be the model.
Old Call of Duty days.
Yeah.
Delta Force as well.
Delta Force, yeah.
Halo, things like that.
Yeah.
You could just do whatever you wanted, right? And then it moved to I guess maybe last 10 or 15 years. It almost became a dedicated server world. That could have been because of performance requirements, though. But it's funny because this has come full circle, and now it's, well, especially with the test we did 2 weekends ago, we didn't even know we could push it to 30 people, and
Yeah.
it works beautifully. We're just like, well, hot damn. Like,
Yeah.
no, let's go. And so for us, that's kind of full circle because it means that you can get a hell of an experience just hosting your own servers. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was exciting as well. When I jumped in and I didn't see very many servers at the time. I don't think they were loading properly at the time. So I put one together and then boom, it filled up and people were nice and exciting. And you had people asking questions like, this is my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, hey, same here. I also don't know what I'm doing. Can we not know what to do together? And like, we kind of just like, it kind of felt like a community again, as opposed to like our DayZ servers that we run. Most of the time we're spending dealing with reports of hackers, right? Like this guy's hacking, so we're spectating him in game and admin mode, things like that. But it felt different. I felt like a part of the community. Like I felt like I was in there, you know what I mean? Even though I was hosting the match, it didn't feel like I was just mainly I was hosting it. There's the name. And then I was just playing the game. And in my opinion, that was pretty sweet.
Pretty low maintenance, right?
It is low maintenance. It's just straightforward.
I find it a little bit funny that you think that's such a unique experience when it should be. We've been having some internal discussions around that idea that games are a little too curated nowadays.
Right.
And there aren't really a lot of filters on bad behavior. And it used to be in the old days, if I'm hosting the server, I would just blacklist you.
Yeah. Or kick them completely out.
Never join my server again.
Yeah. And
gone forever.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about. And this is getting really controversial, or like on the edge here. We all know that hacking is a huge issue in FPS games. So with the way you can host the servers and stuff, like there's nothing preventing us from spectating and just blatantly, like if someone's out there cheating or just causing mayhem, they're out, you know? Simple.
Or vice versa. If you're the host, you could be the mayhem causer.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come play on your server.
Yeah, exactly. So what is your guys' plans for anti-cheat and trying to prevent that?
We've got a backlog in our backlog right now. We're definitely going to use EAC because I've used it in the past with Squad and it's been reliable. Yeah. So that's the first line of defense for like real cheaters. And then for griefers, it's you need to build the anti-grief measures. And actually, we didn't tell anybody this, but we already put a spawn protection in. So it's already in there for the next test. You won't be able to just frag people
right off the rip.
Yeah.
That's good.
Timed. It'll be obvious once you get in there and play. People would be obvious to people that's timed.
Right.
It just decays over time. I think it runs for 30 seconds or something like that. So at least get a chance to spawn in. Look the guy in the face, see what's going on, and then if he decides to throw a grenade, at least you can react.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not gonna lie here. I definitely did some blue on blue action. I definitely was accidentally killing my teammates.
I think I was actually thinking of putting this in our backlog as a suggestion, but we might have like an auto kick on X amount of friendly kills.
Yeah.
I think it might just be a good fail safe.
Yeah.
Just in case. So like just set it at like 4.
Yeah.
If you frag 4 of your friendlies, even if it's an accident, all that happens is you get timed out on the server.
Well, that's not a bad idea at all.
For an hour or 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you overcome the spawn protection, and then in addition, you manage to frag these guys as a griefer, great. You got your grief. Like, congratulations. I think the mentality that we're going to try and breed into the community is these things happen, and we all need to just be super cool about it, and just let these idiots do whatever they're going to do. They get bored, they go away. That happened in Squad too. Squad used to have a ton of griefing, and then it just went away because they got bored. The game doesn't reward it.
Right.
Like Exfil doesn't reward griefing. There's no reward. Everybody just restarts the server and just plays it different.
Keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. But we have to maybe maybe it's an advantage of having some more mature people around, so to speak.
Yeah.
Being a little bit older gamers, that's not really going to get to us, or at least doesn't get to me.
Right.
I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like, this is the oldest bullshit in the book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess we can kind of start concluding this and capping off, but I wanted to talk about the upcoming public testing that you guys have coming April 15th during Steam's FPS Fest. So how long is that going to be running for? And how do people get involved with that?
Well, I think Word, it's a good chance to talk about 13th. Do you want to tell them
Yeah.
what
Sure.
what your plan there is? Yeah.
So for the 13th, it's creator. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of people reach out to get involved, and not only that, but with that, the FPS playtest. How many are we at right now?
26,000.
Yeah. So
And it hasn't stopped.
the
Perfect.
the creator event is kind of the, I guess, setting up for the FPS Fest. We're gonna have the first 2 hours, have people come in. We're gonna stream the game, show all the features, kind of do like a rundown of how to play, to kind of cut back on all the questions that are being asked, that sort of thing, to kind of showcase all the new features, what's different this time, that sort of deal. And then
Do you say we're going to show off the new map too?
yep, definitely show off the new map, get in there and play.
Somebody sent me a message. I was like, "What do you want?"
And then really try to sell hard, on the FPS play test the following, 2 days on the 15th.
Yeah.
That's kind of our main goal for
Yeah,
that.
kind of like, it's a nice warm up to the FPS Fest, and hopefully we'll post about it this coming week on Steam and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully it's a Saturday. People come in and watch it, just get a chance to engage the new map, even through streamers. And it obviously gives a boost to the streamers too, right?
Mhm.
Some of the smaller streamers probably pick up a couple subs, things like that, especially with that many eyeballs on it. And PC Games and has also said that they'll do another write up for us. So I'm going to be queuing that up so that there'll be an article out a few days before it. Hopefully that, again, just drive more eyeballs. And I mean, ideally we end up building a little family of streamers.
Yeah.
Our little, no, I don't want to say clique, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Little guys that want to hang out and play the game.
Yeah.
Like great content creators.
Yeah, and have them grow with us, as we grow too.
It's a certain type of game though, right? Because there's a lot of guys who aren't going to necessarily like the one life. Like, it's always going to be a filter on Exfil. It's going to be the one life. There's a certain type of gamer who's just not ever going to play the game. Like, they just won't come in and play when they hear that it's one life. I'm sure of that. So they've already heard it.
Right. Yeah. I've heard
I don't want to play that. And I was like, good.
I've heard a couple criticisms, because I've been sharing this game like crazy and talking to people about it. And one guy I talked to, or a kid that's in my Discord that I talked to, he's a huge Squad fan.
Yeah.
And he criticizes it. He says, well, it seems to me that they're just trying to make another Squad version. And I was like, whoa. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, you know what I always say? That's on us to prove if that's right or wrong.
yeah. Yes.
Stand by.
So April 13th, excuse me, is the streamer event, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then following
Yeah.
2 days.
Yep.
And then the FPS Fest is for a week.
Whole week.
So everybody's going to play for 7 days.
Yeah, and I'm taking that week off. I already put it down. I 100% am. I am taking that week off. Once I get access on April 15th, I will be playing.
Are you ever going to like the new map?
I'm so excited for it.
I'm a little excited myself because I've built a lot of maps in my life now. And when a map just like falls together, there's only one zone on the map that didn't fall together. It's this rail yard up on the one end. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but the rest of the map literally just naturally happened on paper, like already the environment. So that's usually a good sign. That means that map was waiting to come out of me and it was already like fully formed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. It means that like everything's kind of easily flowing out of it. So that's a really good sign.
Yeah, I am super excited about that map. Like I said, I look at it a lot. And I'm super excited for the future of Exfil. I really am. Like I said, once that Steam play test goes through, how many people are you taking? Is there an idea, or you're going to take like as much public as possible?
Steam FPS Fest, we have no control.
Gotcha.
So it is. I expect my honest expectation based on the FPS or sorry the Steam playtest stuff. 60,000 players. I would expect, I guess, for an indie game that's a demo. Yeah.
Okay.
If we get 60,000, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, we have this huge advantage of being small. We're a small, like our entire support team, including Bird and these guys, is only 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah. And what, 2 developers or?
Yeah, exactly.
2 developers.
We're bringing on some more guys, but it's really, we're doing it intentionally and slowly because we want them to be around for the whole process. Like
right.
Years.
Yeah.
We're planning to build this for a few years, so we're not in a rush.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm super glad that I was able to get you guys. It kind of excited me and blew my mind away when Big Bird's like, yeah, we'll do the podcast with you. So I'm very thankful. I really appreciate you guys coming in and talking. Is there anything else you guys would like to say before we hop off and continue our days?
I just want to give a shout out to all the mods. Love you guys and all your help.
Yeah.
And then all the people that have come to the Discord over the past couple weeks. I mean, we've grown, I think, in 2 weeks, I think over 1,000 people at least. Yeah. So the excitement's real. I love everybody's energy so far.
I do like how we kind of turned down the heat a little bit after the weekend and everybody's just simmered and chilled. It hasn't been too dramatic or anything.
Except for me.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
No, it hasn't been like that at all. I guess we've been communicative, right? We've been communicating that. So that's also part of it. We're like, hey, man, we're just, we're working on this new map, but otherwise we're just chilling.
Yeah.
But we're just starting to spin up like basically from this week. So look out for the next couple of weeks before that FPS Fest because we've got a lot of stuff queued up to do.
Awesome.
I'm testing.
It's all going to be the quality of life changes and the new map, so it'll be awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked too.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to get back to spamming your guys' Discord and continue asking questions. And I'm going to stay extremely active and I'm going to keep an eye out on things. And moving forward, I'll be releasing more footage and videos as well on my YouTube. And I just want to thank you guys again. Thank you, Iron Taxi, and thank you, Big Bird. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, man.